Hey guys, it's Pete from Beef Anxiety here. Welcome into today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing, pause this video, go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get in today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.
Guys, welcome into another exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. My guest today has a story to be told. Please welcome in Casey. Casey, how you doing this morning, bud?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing great, man. So let me tell you, like, this story you all have to hear. Casey now has something that has probably the wildest story I've heard to date almost. It's right there in the top 5. So, brother, lay it on him for him.
Well, I'd like to start off by saying I am absolutely very happy to be here. I've been excited for this for a while. Been pushing out there and letting people know that I've been doing it.
Heck yeah, that's what's up, man. That's awesome, though. But I appreciate you being there, man. And it's great, man. Like I said, it'd be great. People can hear your story. Other people can hear it. Because it's not only going to be on this, it's going to be on the audio side as well too down the road. So eventually, people to Spotify, my iHeartRadio listeners, everybody else will actually hear everything. Hear this whole conversation we're having currently right now.
Very cool.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Give a little brief bio. Let them know who Casey is, the person.
So I guess the easiest place to start is my name is Casey. I am a resident in Minnesota. I'm a blue collar construction worker. Been doing it most of my life. I am a huge advocate for mental health. That's something that I started struggling with not too long ago. And it's just something that stemmed from an accident that I had that I'm actually really happy to share with you guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Casey had told me a little bit about the story when I reached out originally. We've been following each other for a little while on TikTok, and then he started telling me about a little bit what happened after he kind of faded away for a little bit. And wow, is all I can say, man. I remember the parts you told me of it. I was like, damn. And I'm like, you know what? Let's get him on here. We got to talk to him about this, because Casey, prior to this story, had not had any mental health issues. Afterwards, now he is dealing with some things. So what are you currently dealing with now?
Kind of the most current things are like your depression, your anxiety. Those are the two biggest ones.
Yeah.
I struggle with a lot of like up down emotions.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
And this was never before this point, before you've had this accident, none of this stuff happened?
No, man. Before my accident, honestly, I was about as happy as a person could be. I mean, I really didn't struggle with any of this. I was pretty happy. I mean, a bad day for me was, if I forgot to tie my boot.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. And like I said, man, it's crazy though, because did they give you any explanations though for why it may have happened? Did they have any ideas? Have you seen like a psychiatrist or anybody to maybe explain maybe what happened?
So actually, it's very common, given the nature of my injury, for this to happen to people, or if they have a condition, for it to be exaggerated.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it all started for me. That really changed, I guess, kind of how my body worked, and that's kind of where my symptoms started from, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's lead into it. So what happened the day of it? What was going on? Give us a little kind of paint the picture for us a little bit before we really tell them what happened. Just give us an idea of like what was going on. Like obviously you were at work when this happened, correct?
Yep. Yeah. So I was actually working out of state, for a company that I had been only working with for about a couple of months. I was pretty new, and I was traveling for them, and I was working on a large piece of metal that was inside of a shipping container, not a shipping container, kind of like a steel rack that it sits in.
Yeah.
You can picture a 4-legged table upside down with kind of a round drum looking piece of machinery inside the middle. I was working on it, and I was watching what I was doing, and before I knew it, I had woken up on the ground. And what had happened is the rack had tipped over and it had caught my foot.
Oh shit.
And when it caught my foot, I fell over, and the steel rack fell across my head, and it actually pushed my head into the ground.
Oof.
So my head was between the ground and the steel.
And how thick is steel are we talking here? Is it a pretty thick piece of metal?
Yeah, I mean it's this rack was big enough to drive a pickup truck into. You could set a
Oh,
pickup truck inside of it.
holy
So
crap.
I mean it was significantly heavy.
Oh yeah, you think so? Jesus, holy crap, dude.
Yeah,
So you don't
yeah.
remember anything prior to that. You just remember the after effects of being on the ground and everything else. So tell us what your mind state was then, man. You had to be panicking at that point. Or is it like was it the pain so bad it's like you didn't really notice anything else at the time?
The very first thing that I got up and realized, because I didn't know what had happened or really what was going on, but I knew that my face was wet. And that was all I could focus on. The pain was non-existent at that point.
Holy crap.
Um, and I couldn't see out of one of my eyes. So that was my first concern,
Yeah. No, I get
that
that
something had
completely.
happened to my eye. And at this time I was wearing, before the accident, I was wearing all of my personal protective equipment.
Yeah.
And when I got up, I wasn't. So my safety glasses weren't there. My hard hat wasn't there. Um,
Holy crap.
and so that somewhere when this happened, the hard hat kind of flew off. The safety glasses were no longer there.
Jesus,
Um,
man.
yeah, and the only thing I could think of was, what happened and why can't I see?
Yeah. That's insane. Like wow. Wow. Like even when you told me part of it before, like it was like, damn, what? You're like, yeah, this is what happened. I was like, wait, huh? It's like that friend that tells you something like really weird and you're in the middle of a serious conversation. Wait a minute, what the fuck did you just say? Like that was insane. Like you hear about these things, but like wow, man, I'm glad you're still here though, bro. Because you never know. You may not have. Some people don't even make it through those kind of accidents, man. So
Yeah. A little quick side note to that, which is actually kind of a crazy detail talking about Lucky. Um, that summer in Utah was significantly hot. It was very warm, and every time I was fabricating on this piece of metal. I was
yeah,
welding, cutting, grinding, um, and it would start the grass around me on fire. And so to mitigate that, I moved this object into a giant sandy area that I had found. It
oh,
was
see, that
really,
was going to be my follow-up question, but yeah, you're covering it right now.
yeah, it was really sugary, like powdery sand. Um,
Yeah,
and so when I fell over and the impact happened, the sand was so soft that it actually gave my head somewhere to be,
yeah,
as opposed to being against the hard ground.
yeah. That was going to be my question next. It's like the ground had to be in a certain condition. That way, it kind of lessened the kind of impact a little bit too. You think about it because the sand wasn't really solid, so you pushing in, it would have taken some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
So, but that's crazy though. So okay, so after that, you get up, you don't really know what's going on. Is everybody else around you freaking out? They got to be freaking out. There's no way in hell they weren't.
Yeah, there was a lot of panic. There was quite a few people that were very concerned and freaked out, and it was chaos.
Yeah, dude, that's
Um,
and you just walk around like, wait, what's up wrong, guys? What's going on, man?
yeah,
Everything's okay. You know what I mean? Like I could see that complete state of confusion of what's going on exactly. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't know if anybody else understands this, but I know my pre-programmed responses at the time were anytime I got hurt, it's no big deal, it's fine, I'm fine.
yeah.
Are we okay? So I kept saying that, I'm fine. When people could see that things were obviously not fine.
Yeah, yeah. How bad was it though? Like, how bad are we talking about when you say you were feeling? Obviously, you're bleeding from the head. Like, how bad was there? A big gash? I'm like, I mean, I'm just like, wow. These people are freaking the hell out. You're trying to stay calm, man. They're looking at you like you're crazy. Like, Casey, man, I don't think you're good over there. Like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm all right. I'm okay. Like, it's just wild, man. So okay, so after how long were you down exactly? Because I hadn't seen you for a bit. I remember you used to go live all the time, and then you used to come by and visit you and hang out a little bit when I had time. And then I noticed you just all of a sudden disappeared. I was like, dude, what happened to this guy, man? I usually see him a lot of times. How long were you out exactly? Like what was your injury exactly? Maybe that's probably a better question.
So at first I actually didn't know it was just the superficial cut that was my on my cheek, and then my eye had started bleeding, but it
Yeah.
didn't look too bad, right? It was what it appeared to happen, possibly, I'm not sure, that maybe my safety glasses had
Cut you?
damaged, cut my cheek and then
Yeah.
pushed up against my eye. It didn't look much more than a bunch of like cuts on the face or just bleeding from the face. It
Yeah.
didn't look like I had my skull crushed.
Oh shit. Yeah.
It just kind of looked like I had cut myself really bad in a couple of spots.
Yeah. Okay. So take us to the ER now. Okay. So we're on the way to ER. What did they say? How bad was your skull crushed? Like, was it like cracked all over? Like, it got to be sandwiched. It kind of like what I'm thinking is it kind of pressed it like a sandwich.
Yeah. So after the second set of MRIs, because the first one just weirdly enough didn't see anything. According to the first imaging, there was nothing wrong. But the second one found that I had fractures all the way around my eye.
Mm,
Every wall of my orbital socket was crushed.
mm.
My cheekbone was crushed, and then the nasal passage on the right side of my nose was crushed.
Jesus.
So the whole right side of my face was
Yeah, where that
broken.
piece of metal landed. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Jesus, man. That's insane. Like wow, brother. And you're still here. Did they say the likelihood that most people don't survive that kind of thing usually, or
It was really lucky.
yeah.
It was very lucky, just
Are
in
you
the
a man
right
of
place at
are
the
you a
right
man of faith?
time.
Not to
Well,
cut you off. Are you a man of faith?
I am.
That's what saved you, brother. Guaranteeing it right now. There's nothing else short of that. That there's no way else. Because something told you to bring it to the sand. It was just him telling you, "Hey, listen, bring the sand. You're going to experience this thing." And now you're dealing with some mental issues, even though being a big mental health advocate yourself, which is great. Honestly, because not enough of us, not a lot of people talk about it. I mean, we are now. The conversation's growing. Like since I started this show till now, man, there's so many other podcasts I've seen that other people are joining the conversation, which is great. But that's just like I had to have you come tell this story. It's like, guys, you got to hear this. Like I've had some wild stories told. I think that is right up there. It's right up there in the top three craziest stories that have ever been told in that seat, in the guest seat ever, of just crazy shit, and people are still alive afterwards. I had a woman tell me second week of the show she was dead on the table for 5 minutes and explain what death was like, and all the other things. Like we've had guys on here talk about suicidal ideation and like how he for the morning of the show he was planning on killing himself. He was on the edge of the bed talking about it, and people are freaking out, going, "Oh shit, this guy is like he's saying some real things." But these are things people deal with, man. You as an advocate yourself, I'm sure you probably heard some wild fucking stories yourself, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this journey has actually led me to meet a lot of people
Yeah,
and be able to really understand more of it and connect with people, because there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way about this kind of stuff.
yeah.
Or dealing with things that are similar to what we're dealing with.
Yeah, man, I agree. No, I don't know. You're in your own category on that one, bud. You can't class. Listen, getting head crushed like a sandwich. Nope, that's all you, bud. No. So, all right. So, how long after, like, was it during recovery you started experiencing like depression and the anxiety of things? I know you had to be paranoid after you realized what happened, man, because you had to be thinking to yourself, obviously, like, damn, why am I still here, man? I shouldn't have made it to this thing. Did you have that kind of like survivor's remorse kind of thing?
It started off really weird. So they actually didn't really get into the idea that I had a traumatic brain injury until about 6 months after the incident happened. They were really focusing on fixing my face, two surgeries, and nobody really got into wondering if there was more damage internally.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing that my coworkers, once I got back to work for a little while on light duty, and a lot of my family and friends were kind of noticing, were that I was different. I was acting different.
Yeah.
Um, and at this time, I really wasn't self-aware that I had something going on. I
Yeah.
just thought it was fuzzy memory. Just couldn't think clearly, just foggy headed all the time. And so it was really a lead up, because it just didn't have the self-awareness. And that was kind of when it started.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening. I just started feeling a certain way, and I had no idea why.
Yeah, that makes sense, though, man. Because a lot of times your family members will notice it first. You may not realize that you're doing these things subconsciously, and them noticing the things are usually the first stages of a lot of stuff like that too. A lot of people notice that you're a little bit different. Like, yeah, well, given the accident and everything else, just having basically your brain scrambled like an egg, basically. I could see that though. You may not realize it because you're still trying to recover and you're still trying to catch up, and a lot of things are foggy for you. So I'm really not shocked hearing any of that stuff though. But when did they finally diagnose it? Was it at that point you were like, hey, something's wrong. I gotta get this looked at, or was it just like your family members kept pushing you? Hey, Casey, man, something's not right. You may need to go talk to somebody, see if you're okay. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised you didn't have like flashbacks or something when you were in the thing. Did you have like those moments where you start panicking when you got into the same scenario settings? Like,
Yeah, it's actually really common for me to have that immediate like fight or flight response.
yeah,
Different things. It is very common for me to have like the feelings of a flashback. I don't really necessarily see the accident, except in
no, you
dreams
feel it though.
sometimes.
Like it's like PTSD kind of, like you
Yeah,
feel
I
it,
mean,
like what's going on, but you're not there really.
yep. I mean, it's a snap of a finger, and my heart will be racing. Thoughts are no longer clear, and panic attack symptoms.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And it can come from something as simple as driving,
Oh,
or
oh,
seeing somebody doing something.
yeah,
Um, but it's weird how that started because I didn't have that before either. So
yeah,
that was a new thing, and the real reason this all got discovered was I was at work one day, and my coworkers were really upset with me. They said when we hired you, you were a fantastic employee. You were doing awesome, and now it's like you're wandering around. You don't necessarily know what the next step of your job is. Um, you you're not with it, and it's been going on for a while. And that was when the self awareness kind of happened that, oh, there's something wrong. I'm not acting in normal character, and
yeah,
that was how I got myself into looking into maybe there was more.
yeah, yeah. And I believe it, man. Especially after traumatic brain injury, man, that's a lot of times when stuff kicks in, man. And people develop like different things from that a lot of times, or just some kind of traumatic event usually what causes a lot of stuff to come through for a lot of people. And it's just that's crazy, man. Like you go one day you're okay, then after that whole incident, it's like something in you just changes, like you're a whole nother person. And they're just like they're basically telling you these things, and you're just like, you're just shrugging it off, like, no, no, I'm fine. But you obviously were dealing with it internally because you said to yourself you had you had frog brain kind of thing. You don't remember a lot of stuff. You start getting real panic, having panic attacks are the simplest things that just start triggering things. So, what was the final end all be all for you to finally start going like, hey, I need to get examination, have somebody look and see what, or talk to somebody, see if I can figure out what it is what is causing these problems.
That kind of started at home.
Yeah,
I was acting really really different at home, and it was starting to cause issues.
yeah,
On top of causing issues at work.
yeah. No,
And that was when I really went to go see a doctor about like a neurologist, to see what was going on. And that was when it was diagnosed as a TBI, and it started as simply as getting a list of what my side effects could be, or
yeah,
what things could happen related to the injury, what could be affecting me.
yeah,
And if you took a book and chapters 1 through 4 were, what the symptoms might be post accident, I was experiencing everything in between. A lot of the side effects of that type of injury, uh, a lot of them I experience still even today after a lot of rehabilitation. And
yeah,
that was when I really started noticing that in the symptoms and the after effects, that mental health would be something that would be affected by that, or in different ways. It's possibility to start having more severe depression or anxiety peaking. And that was exactly what was happening.
yeah. Oh, I believe it, man. From what you're saying, you're having panic attacks too, on top of all that, and that's got to be even worse, especially if you're just driving. and all of a sudden you start panicking, man. Oh shit. I know what it's like when I have one, dude. I am just like, I'm a fucking mess completely. I've had it happen before. People around me just have no idea what's going on. And they're like asking you 20 questions. And it's like, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? You just shut the fuck up is what I want to tell them. Like I'm freaking out right now, like I start blashing out at people and I try to get away from people because I know I'm starting to have and I have a friend that I work with. He knows, like he knows the situation. He knew something was up because he has had experience with his, other people have dealt with stuff like that too. And he's really aware. So he knew what was going on. So he was out there talking to me for a minute. And then you have that ignorant person come into the conversation, go and start telling you about something else. Like, yo, I don't want to hear about none of your shit right now. I'm having a freak out moment here. Let me freak out. Let me get over this thing. Don't come over here and start adding more shit to my pile, and then I had, somebody else come and go, well, we just shouldn't freak out like that. I'm like, yeah, I wish that's how this works. I fucking wish. I'm glad this is how you think it works. Like, some people just are just so blind to what goes on. And then if you were trying to explain it to them, a lot of them wouldn't even understand that. Honestly, man, it's scary because it's like, a lot of these places are like, oh, mental health, awareness month was last month. Like I see these emails and I laugh and I'm just like, y'all have no fucking clue, do you? Like literally have no clue. You don't know how to even begin the conversation about these things. Okay, well, bravo, you sent one email about it. That's it. Nothing else about it the whole month. Near the end of the, oh yeah, look, oh yeah, check in on your people. They don't know what to check in on. So like, what are you telling them to check in on? Like, come on now. Like, send some kind of educational source to them. Hey, listen, these are some things to look out for in some of your people in case they start having these things, Like I myself, I can notice things when people do things because I'm an empath, so I can really read people's situations and read body languages and things like that too. I can tell when something's really bothering people a lot of times. And I don't only have to say more than 2 words, and I can just tell them, hey, listen, I know something's up. It's good. You ain't got to freak out. We ain't got to talk about it if you don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on because I have that heightened sense of, I could read the energy in the room and tell, like, hey, these guys are struggling or they're having a problem with something, and it gets real interesting, and then the other people on the other side just see how blind they are to it. They're like, oh, well, let's just not do these things. Well, hey, I'm glad that's how easy it is. It's not flipping off a switch and then we're done. It's not how it works.
Yeah, and it's actually crazy that you mentioned that because I mean, before all this happened, I mean, I was very ignorant myself. I didn't know, I didn't experience issues with my mental health or anxiety or panic attacks, so it wasn't hard to sympathize with people because I could understand that people struggle.
Yeah.
But it was hard to understand what they were going through because I didn't experience it myself. So you can read about it, you can ask about it and listen sometimes, but if you don't know, it's hard to understand. And that's where I was, I didn't understand it.
Yeah. And that's the common thing that I like to say too, is a lot of people, that's why I bring people on here to get people's, get an eyewitness account of someone else telling the story besides me of them going through these things and people could better understand what it, explain the moment to people, like that's why I tell people when you paint a picture, make sure you're painting a real good picture of what's going on. Like you don't have to leave anything out. That's the great thing about the show is that we can talk about it all. We don't have to leave anything behind. We don't have to edit anything. That's the only reason why this show is never live on TikTok, or if it is, it's only because select episodes because they sensitize things. But I get why they sensitize it. You don't want some little kid wandering into a conversation about suicide and then them, understanding what they're listening to, what's going on, or somebody that's listening goes, oh well, starts getting thoughts going and and stuff like that, and it's hard for people to understand, man. And now that you've experienced it, it's a whole nother ball game. Now you have the other flip side of the coin. Now you're like, well, listen, now you can speak from experience. And I think a lot of times when you meet people like that, you'll find that they'll relate to you more because they'll be like, oh man, listen, Casey's been through this. He knows what's up. And now that you've experienced like this, hey, I know what you're going through, and you can walk them through it a little bit because you've experienced it yourself. You have a better idea of what their mindset is.
Yeah. It's crazy how you can start to relate to people once you experience things similar or different, but in a way that it's a general experience that, like my anxiety may be completely different than somebody else's, but what affects you and causes that may be different than mine, but we're still having the same general feelings. It's something that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Because I know as far as the spectrum of mental health, I mean, I feel like I've been as low as somebody can be, right? I mean, talk about the idealization of suicide, before I could tell you for certain that I didn't understand how somebody had gotten to that point.
Yeah.
I had lost people to that, but I never understood how someone got there.
Yeah.
But I can tell you for certain that I know now. I can tell you that I know in my experience, not other people's, what it feels like to then really feel like that nothing's going to change or get better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, and it's all so much more than that too. But you're hitting the head on a lot of the stuff, and it's hard when it comes to that conversation too, because when people start talking to you about it, it's like I've had a few people come tell me that they've thought about it, and I'm just like, I have 98 ready to go, and I'm like, listen, if you need help, I'm like, I can listen to so much, but if I feel like you're going that direction, I'm going to tell you to go to all these people right away. Like, you need to call them. They're trained for this situation. Like, I can listen as much as I can listen. I'll still listen regardless. Even if you call them and you still want to tell me your thoughts, your current thought process, if it helps getting it out there, I'll listen. Don't get me wrong. I get the craziest messages in my inbox of things, of just people saying some stuff, that you just fucking blow your minds. Like, things that you just, you don't, and a lot of people panic in the situations. Okay, so we'll use a scenario. Yesterday I was out. I took the little one out to the park. She was visiting for the weekend. That's why I don't have my normal setup, because I've had the little one visiting. So we went to the park and I met this guy. Okay. His name's Carl. Carl had come up to me and all of a sudden just started pouring out things. He found out what I do. It's like, yeah, hey, listen, I do a mental health podcast. And Carl's attitude changed to the point that he's just telling me some wild things, and like, I just like, it was just like, he just had to get it out. Like, it was just that feeling a lot of people get when they meet me. They want to just tell me about everything. And I'll listen. Like, I'll listen all day, man. I'm not going to deny anything if it's crazy or whatever you're saying. Because say the craziest things to me, I will never tell you that that's the case, because I know these are the thoughts that are going through your head. It's like, and it's like, and some of the shit was just wild. He just kept telling me all these different things, and so sexual assault was involved in this thing and everything else. These things, like this random stranger he met at the park one day, he was just telling. Turns out, that runs a mental health podcast, gets told these things, and me and him were just talking for a bit, and then he found religion and things. Like, he was telling me all these really interesting things, and I'm just like, wow, man. I'm like, and all I told him is say, hey, thanks, man, I appreciate you sharing with me all that stuff, because normally you don't share a lot of that stuff with other people. He just kept talking, and we and him were just chatting for like good maybe like hours or so. We were just sitting there talking about things, and he was just like, he was telling me some wild shit. So like, hearing wild stories is nothing. This, like I said, your story's up there, man, with some wild shit that's happened though. But it's like, now you understand things better. I think it's gonna serve you better going forward too, because not only when people come to you, you can tell them like, hey, listen, I understand exactly what you're going through. Like I said, that whole experience thing's gonna come through. Like, I experienced it myself. You're in a safe place, kind of thing. And you've always been real mellow, man, which is really good though. I think that's a really good thing about you too, is that you're really mellow tone. And when you're talking to people, you have the same tone of voice the whole time, I think it's very calming to a lot of people, you'll find, man, because a lot of times, if you start panicking, other people are going to start panicking, and shit. You know exactly what I mean with that and stuff. So it's crazy, man, because it's Men's Mental Health Month anyways. Like you pointed out to me, I was like, oh, that's right. It is Men's Mental Health. So it's important we start having these conversations openly about things as men ourselves, because we don't talk about a lot of this stuff. I was watching something the other day, fuck, what is it watching now? They were talking about just that. Like, they're told not to talk about the feelings and things like that. And I can't remember. I wish now I can remember what the hell I was watching. Something I was watching on YouTube. I came across a clip and the guy was saying just that. He was like, oh, we're told not to talk about our feelings and things like this. Because if we were, don't be a bitch is the phrase that kept getting used. Is like, don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch about these things, and all this other crazy shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, coming up through the construction world, I mean, that was really common. Speaking specifically to men's mental health, is that you don't need to talk about it, you bury it. Like, quit whining,
Facts.
quit complaining. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just having a bad day. It wasn't something that when I was coming up, that, or growing older even, that was talked about. It wasn't acknowledged half of the time. And it's crazy because a lot of us deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's astonishing that it's not a conversation that we had sooner in the times, because everybody seems to deal with it.
Yeah.
But the common practice was still to just bury it or not talk about it, or don't let yourself be vulnerable with other people to share what's going on with you.
Okay, so let me stop you right there really quick, okay? To your point that we don't talk about it. I'm looking at some statistics here, okay? Can you guess how many men have dealt with just anything in general? It says, however, blank of men have never talked about it. You want to take a wild guess and guess what percentage has never talked about it?
I couldn't even imagine what that number is, but I'll bet it's significant.
What do you think it is? Just take a wild guess. You're not going to be wrong for guessing. I mean, I'm looking right at it right now. You'll be amazed.
Men that don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. So they've never talked about anyone about their mental health, often due to embarrassment or stigma. Work, financial pressures, health concerns are the top causes of mental health issues.
It's
So,
got to be 60-70%
ooh,
maybe.
you're not off by much. It's actually 40%. It says of men have never talked to anyone about their mental health, and that leads right to your point there. It says 77% though in the survey they did said that men have experienced symptoms like common symptoms like anxiety, depression, stress, things like that. And it's crazy because it fits right into what you were just saying. That's how you were raised.
Yeah, it was not something that I started even talking about until I started experiencing it,
Yeah.
Mostly because I didn't experience it, but even just talking to other people about it, because I mean, you would try to be a good friend or try to be there for them as best you can, right? But if you don't understand it, then your ability to, I guess, help, so to speak, is limited, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what to do for somebody. So that number is not, I mean, it's big, but it's not shocking.
It's not shocking, honestly, man. Um, But yeah, so real quick, the guys in the comment are like, we can do boxes, fellas. We can actually do comments on the boxes. I can set it up so we can do that sometime. If you all like to share your opinions about things, sometime we can definitely plan an episode. I was planning to do a men's mental health panel. I had waited on doing it a little bit. I've been trying to figure. I had a bunch of other stuff come up and things like that. So I am definitely planning on it. So in case anybody that wants to be a part of it, reach out to me. Let me know. You guys can hit me up I'm on pretty much everything. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all of it, guys. Just hit me up if you want to be a part of it. We could do a conversation. If you gentlemen in the comments would love to join us, and things like that too. But here's a crazy statistic for y'all right here. How about this one right here for you? In the U.S., over 6 million men suffer from depression annually, but males often underdiagnosed. Nearly 1 in 10 men experience depression or anxiety, yet less than half receive treatment. Is that not fucking insane? And then it says men die by suicide 4 times higher than women. I believe it, man. I believe it, though. I mean, a lot of the statistics you look at say that men don't talk about it. They commit suicide versus women that talk more about it. And as I always say, it's not to say that either side doesn't matter in this conversation. We're just talking about just the numbers are insane comparing them. It's still a scary number. And one of my guests I had on here named Nicole, she's actually from the Texas area where I'm at. She was telling me that young men, I think she said as early as 12 or 14. I'll have to check on that statistic for you, but it was like 12 or 14 numbers going up, not down, going up. And it's like, we need to have these conversations more. I think we need to start having more open conversations with kids younger, about these whole things, because I feel like a lot of them, it's the bullying, it's getting picked on, it's all these things, we just think is hazing and stuff like that with each other. We all used to do these kind of things, and it's just crazy, man. It's crazy to hear the numbers going up, though. It's kids that young, though, man. It's like people are burying their own kids. It should be the other way around. They should be burying their parents, and it's just insane, though. Like the numbers are just going up. The statistics are crazy. And yet we don't do anything about it. That's the problem, I think, is the scariest part. Is like we know these are issues, but yet we still stir away from the issues. Like you'll see the catchy little videos of, oh, well, it's mental health. All the different months to see the videos. But then after that, watch and see how many of those people continue that conversation. You'll find out a lot of them don't. And that's the scary part about it. It's just like,
Right.
You just forgot about it all of a sudden. Like you act like, okay, well, this is a nice little fad. It's like, all right, it's already over. We're not going to talk about this anymore. You're like bootleg jeans just went out and came back. It's not how that works, guys. You can contest to this. You deal with it still now. Now you're dealing with it the whole time. It doesn't go away, man. As soon as this conversation ends, you're still dealing with these things at any given time. You could just be sitting there and all of a sudden just things start kicking up for no reason. You know,
Yeah,
my anxiety's like that too.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are days where I have to take. I mean, what's the old saying? You have to take it a day at a time. I mean, there's days when I have to take it an hour at 10 minutes at a time. Depending because I mean, my emotional range is so up down. It's finally starting to be regulated with like meds and different rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Um, and I've gone as far as an IOP program, outpatient program,
Yeah.
for my mental health because I just knew that where I was mentally, I didn't want to continue to stay.
Yeah.
But even just seeking help felt stigmatizing. Going through that myself, it didn't feel comfortable to talk about with other people. Being as we're
Yeah.
talking about men not talking about it.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to tell my friends that I was going to a program. It was hard for me to tell my friends like these are the things that I think on a daily basis or that I'm experiencing because I knew that I didn't know anything about it. My friends necessarily didn't talk to me about these things because they didn't want to talk about it or feel comfortable about it. But now that I've started talking about it myself and digging deeper into it, and TikTok has been huge for that. I've
Mm-hmm.
met a whole community of
I'm
men.
telling you, man. I'm telling you, there's people on there. You blow your mind how many people you find on there. Everybody's like TikTok this, TikTok. I'm like, dude, where do you think I find a lot of people? A lot of people I network with. That's where I find them in their beginning. A lot of times too. And a lot
Yeah,
of people sleep on TikTok, man. I'm like, listen, use it for what you want it to be. Don't let the algorithm run you. You run the algorithm how you want it to be. Now, you find these people. Once you put that message out there, somebody eventually will find it, and and it's what happens. So,
yeah. I mean, just the friends that I've made that started from talking about this and having the conversation about this. And I know that it's Men's Mental Health Month, but just the people in general, even that I've had these conversations with now since then, it seems like I've kind of unlocked Pandora's box as far as like talking to people. Now I've got some of my friends that I grew up with talking to me about it
see.
versus complete strangers that I've started talking to about it.
You know what?
And
And
it,
the funny thing, Casey, is if you ask them, I guarantee they'll be like, "Well, I was waiting for one of y'all to say something." Similar situation happened to one of my other guests named Blake. He said when he and his fantasy football group were talking about it, everybody else was waiting for somebody to say something so they could just all start pouring it out. And he said it was funny because all of them were just kind of like looking in, ready to jump in, like they're all ready to go, waiting for somebody to say it. And then he said something, and then everybody else got in the conversation, which is happening to you though, the same thing.
yeah. And that's a learned experience, right? Because for a long period of time, when I didn't really understand any of this or what was happening to me, I suffered in silence.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
didn't
people
tell
do.
anybody. So I started self-isolating really honestly. It was a lot of being unaware that I was even doing it.
Yeah,
It was hard to connect with people because I didn't know what was happening. I just know that I didn't feel good, inside my head.
yeah,
And reaching out was probably single-handedly the most difficult thing that I was doing or hadn't done, but then, eventually did. And I'm very happy that I did. And that's why I've kind of made it a thing to talk about it, to do things like this podcast and be representative because now that I'm experiencing things that others are experiencing, then I'll be the one to start the conversation.
yeah,
Because if that's what it comes down to, if there's people waiting to talk about this, then I'll be the first one to do it,
yeah.
if that's what it takes, because this is something that needs to change.
Yep, you're right, 100%, man. 100%. You're not wrong by any means possible, man. And it's great that you want to start the conversation because that's what it's like at this one. This a lot of times I start the conversation. People see my name and I explain to people what I do. And you'd be amazed how many people are so interested in what it is. And TikTok was a big place. I was on there just battling random people. And I met one, what is it? Sauce Him Up was one guy I met. Nice guy, told him the whole story about what was going on, what I'm doing, and things like that. And he was so invested. He was like, dude, this is so amazing. It's so interesting, to hear somebody talking about it. I'm like, there's a lot of us out there now. Now that I've done this, I've met so many different people that are joining the conversation. And it's crazy. I had a person sitting in the same seat you were. She's got like 2 million viewers, 2 million downloads almost of people listening. Shout out to G Rex and 30 Skittles are actually the names of the hosts. It's called the shit that goes on in her head. Real great show in case y'all haven't ever heard of it. She was actually on the show. G-Rex is actually on the show with me. We were talking for a bit. And it's just like, she was like, all I'm doing is out there sharing my own story. She said it was a little bit before I shared my own story. But when I shared my own story, she's like, it was just like, it just took off. And she's, they're like 12 season into this thing. And she has another podcast too. I don't remember what it's called. Some kind of survivor one. I'll have to get the names of it because I just run blank on that one. But she was awesome, man. It was just great. And there's a couple other people coming up too. I've got another one called I Need a Friend. I'll have to reach out to them and see if she's got any time and spaces for you. See if maybe she'll have you come on there too. She's really cool. Sure. Caitlin's a really great girl. Reminds me of myself a lot in the beginning, man. Real excited to get in the conversation. Really great host, and the one I really want to try and get you on is called Emotionally Unavailable. Dude, I laugh because you trust me, you'll have a fucking blast on there. Melissa's awesome, dude. Like, let me tell you, you're gonna have an experience like no other. How does that sound? Because Melissa, man, if you've never listened to any of them, I'll have to send you my episode, dude. We had a fucking blast all the time. She was trying to blame me because we had to put explicit content on there. But, okay, it was not just that. Melissa, I love you to death, but it was not just that. But she's just awesome. There's a couple other shows, like I said, man. I usually, a lot of people that come on this one, I usually network a bunch of other people, too. I do have a friend in Australia that does one, too. And I'm sure she'd love to hear this story 100%. So, yeah. Man, you open the door to a lot of shit right now. Trust me, I'm going to network you with everybody.
That would be cool. Because mine comes from a unique side, right? It's, some people start life with mental health issues. I didn't, so yeah, I was talking to a friend not too long ago who has massive panic attacks, and that's how they've spent most of their life. So I'm asking this person, how do you get through this? Because I just started experiencing this in the last however long, this is a unique experience for me now. So this is not something that I know how to navigate.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the depression and the anxiety. I don't know how to deal with this. How do you deal with this? Because you've lived your life like this, or you've spent so much time learning how to navigate this. How do you deal with it?
Yeah. That's awesome, though. I mean, it's nice to have somebody you can lean on now that they can help you. And now you have me in your corner as well and things like that, man. I hadn't dealt my issues. My issue started when I was 10 years old, okay? So my mom abandoned me when I was 10. She basically took me to my dad's apartment, dropped me off on his doorstep, and left me there. And ever since then, it was just like I didn't realize the ripple effects of things. And, and I started noticing these things early on. Like I spent a lot of time. I was by myself a lot of time, too. So I a lot of things I do now kind of reflect that. Like I don't like really leaving my house much. It's because I was so alone by myself for a long time. It was just me by myself, So I spent a lot of time isolated by myself, things like that. And little did I know, like the stuff I was dealing with, like a lot of rage issues I'd had later on were because of that. Like I get so worked up, and then there's the leads into my, I met my ex, and she was a narcissist by far. Oh man, that episode we did. Let me tell you, that shit was rough. People listening to that story, like, just give you a quick rundown. She basically gaslit me, and she did a lot of things narcissists would do, like she's a covert one. So she basically looked like she was the world's greatest mom to everybody else around her. And then she would trigger me. So I look like I'm the crazy person. But a lot of people started seeing through it, though. I started learning. A lot of people already knew there's some horse shit behind that old thing. And they were just like, after we split, I started finding out a lot of stories about her. And a bunch of crazy shit happened too, with all that. But it was like, I've known I've had issues for a long time, and it was just like it took one moment to make it happen. And after that, that's how this podcast was evolved, because when I started looking and taking care of myself, then I was like, man, I wonder how many other people are talking about this thing. And I was already doing a podcast before. It was the one that me and a friend and I were doing. Was getting a little out of hand, so I took a break, and I was like, just rethinking an idea. And then it just hit me one day, Pete versus anxiety just hit me, because I battle my anxiety every single day. Like the thoughts in my head just start racing. All of a sudden, it could be just anything. And you know exactly what I mean when I say that, because all of a sudden it just starts spiraling. Ideas start coming. And a lot of it was triggered from the stupidest shit possible. Like, I text my wife and she doesn't answer, and I start freaking out. And it's like, to everybody else, it's like, oh, there's just, it's a message. I had to teach myself that text messages, when you send them, don't expect people to respond right away. It's not an instant message, So it's not like having a phone call with somebody. Like, unless they're literally sitting there waiting for that text to come in, they're not going to be looking at it. And I had to train myself to learn to stop doing that, because I'd start panicking when they didn't answer. Oh my God, what are they doing? What are they doing? things like that. Like, my sense of trust was out the window already because my ex already. So, and luckily this woman's dealt with my bullshit for as long as it is. But right now we're on 2 years now, going on 3, of being married. She's been dealing with my shit since day one, but she's been really cool about it though, man. It's like it was different because she has her own issues she's dealing with. So she understands things already. So right there on the bat, she gets it. And then for her to be so understanding about where I was coming from with my side of things, where I was just like, everything is just panic mode. We had a situation. I won't really go into detail, but it was a situation that came up. The way she handled it reassured me that, okay, I can give a little more trust because, the way they handled it made me feel a lot better. The way they handled the situation versus how my ex would have done. Would have been like, oh no, you're crazy. You're just hearing things, or try to convince you that you're the one that's the nutcase, or you're, shit like that, dude. It's crazy though. But anyways, I haven't even told my own full story yet. So wait till that shit to drop. But people's jaws are gonna hit the floor when I go into the great description about the things that you dealt with and things like that. But it's just crazy, man, because it's like it's so much better when have somebody and understands things, because like she's dealt with a lot of shit and we go through a lot of shit too. And I think my hardest thing, I have the hardest thing to deal with this I hate being criticized. Like it drives me fucking nuts. Like I don't know what it is. It just gets me so angry. But she's that type of person that'll just get on your ass and just start riding your ass about shit. Like, oh no, we're not going to do that. Hell no. And you want to fight, you want to run away, you want to push me away. She's like, no, bitch, we're here. We're married now. You have to either deal with this shit or deal with this shit. There's 2 options, that kind of thing like that, But yeah. To the fellas in the comments though, let's see, Ricky and Tyler. Like I said, guys, if you guys want to get together, we can do a panel, man. I'm down. Like I said, I've been discussing these things. I haven't really had any other thought about it, but we can definitely set it up. It's not hard to do. I could have up to 10 people in this thing at any time. So we can bring a bunch of y'all in if you know anybody else that wants to get a part of this conversation, and we could do a live conversation about it and see how it goes from there. There'll be no filters needed. You can say whatever you need to say. And, obviously let's not get crazy with, anti-Sematics or something wild like that, because we'll be live on the podcasting network we're on right now, which is Oracle Talk Radio. So, people all around the world are going to hear this conversation, and then it'll eventually go to the audio side. Like I told you, because we have the Spotify and the iHeartRadio and things like that too.
I can actually, so I'm not sure how to see the comments. So I've been seeing the comments the whole time. Okay. Boxes. Yeah. Just even in having my TikTok set up the way it is, like I've had boxes before where we've gone into this and the boxes have been full, and just having moments where a bunch of us are experiencing the same things, or things that are different but same feelings. And it's been very constructive.
Yeah.
There were people that then reached out to me afterwards and said, like I've never had anybody actually be out there for me.
Yeah.
Like the guys that were in your boxes, or the people that were messaging in the comments, like just building this community of people that are understanding.
Yeah.
And it's a lot like they're talking about, getting people together to talk about it.
Yeah. Like I said, they just let me know. Like I said, we could set it up. We could even do. I've got a couple ideas for some extra stuff. We could even do a monthly get together if they want to. We talk more about it too, and see about getting a bunch of them together and have them come on, and they can say whatever they want, and it'll be heard around the world, man. We're heard as far as Australia, so we'll be heard as that far across the world. Hell, we don't know. Maybe some in Japan may listen to us. We don't know yet. We'll find out. Numbers aren't in for that one, but what I'm saying, like we could do something like that if you're down, man. Me and you could do it. You could come co-host it with me and be the co-host of the thing, and then we could just have the conversation. If you can think anybody run into, let me know. Just just pitch the idea out there and see what they think. Tell them, hey, listen, I got a friend who runs a podcast. He's looking to do some extra content. I think it'd be something fun to do. Have some people come in and just have a real honest conversation about things. Now,
Absolutely.
And we don't have to do a live episode. We can do a closed recorded episode of it too, and the conversation stays here, and then the audio side will eventually trickle out. It just depends how people feel about it. Just let them know there's a bunch of different factors we can get together and figure out about.
Yeah. I mean, like just even me being here and having like Ricky and Tyler, I know both of those guys. Actually Ricky is a good friend of mine that I've known for many years. And Tyler, I think it's actually been a while now since I've joined TikTok. That I've kind of known Tyler, and just the conversations that I've had with each of them, or together, or with other people, even, I think that would be cool and very constructive.
Dude, I'm down. Like I said, I'm down to give you guys the space to do it. Like I said, I'm always looking for extra things to do. So we can do an extra bonus episode where we get them together and we'll just invite different people each month. You could just anybody you run into, hey, listen, we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna get together. We'll do like 6 people at most or whatever. We'll cap it at like 6 just to see how it goes.
Sure.
First, those 2 guys, you, me, and we'll get 2 other people that just want to come and join the conversation, and then we'll go and see how it goes. And then from there, we'll just keep doing it and keep going, man. That way the conversation gets out there. Because I have all this space and platform and the access to the network and things like that. So we can set it up so we can do it on the network as well. So people all around the world can see it too. Either way, they're still going to hear it because it's done on their networks anyway. So I send over the MP3s get to them eventually. So it'll go to their audio side regardless, whether we're live or not. It's just depends on the time when everybody can do it, obviously. But, that would be the plan, is to be live and have a live conversation. That way, in case anybody else that didn't get a part of it, wants to be a part of it, can jump in the conversations in the comments. And there's a way to turn them on so they automatically pop on and things like that. Look, Tyler says he's down. Look, he's down. So, and there's a way to turn on comments to just show up on the stage too that we can do. It's a new feature they just added, so we can play around and see what happens. So people like that will just start showing up because we get like these ones too. I get these all the time.
Sure.
Those will make me laugh, things like that too. But and shit like that. But yeah, man, definitely. Like I said, we'll have to figure out all the details and everything like that. I'm always looking to do extra stuff too. There's some other ideas I've been bouncing around with some people, just monthly extra bonus content I can do. And, the network hasn't said no to anything I've done so far. And they've been really understanding about a lot of stuff. Really cool people. Another one, she does this show, movie reviews. I'll have to get you the name of what it's called, but she does it on Fridays and stuff. If you ever want to be a part of something like that too, let me know. She's probably down to have somebody come on. And he said, I want to do it myself, but I got to find it after summer, probably a little better for me with having the little one here. I want to jump into it because movies, man, she hit my niche right there. I'm down with movies though. But man, listen, I appreciate you coming, man. It's hard to come tell that story, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I mean, it's at some point I will share more of the story. There's a lot of details that I have to be careful with, just like you and I have talked about with work stuff and certain relationships and things like that I have going on. But coming from my side, call it what it is. It's symptoms of a TBI, traumatic brain injury. That's the side I focus on. Because other people have their platforms where they talk about anxiety or depression
we talk about everything on this show, man. We don't close any conversations off. Trust me.
So that's what, kind of my side. That's where mine really started. Was I actually started going to like a monthly support group for people with TBIs and just seeing the spectrum of people that have different symptoms to what I do, but having similar feelings. That was what really started the whole thing, was just wanting to get out there and talk about it and make it known that this is going on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Not only that, there's people around the world that are going to hear this story. Somebody's going to hear it and they're going to say they feel the same way you do, or they know somebody that deals with the same thing you do, man. You'd be amazed. A lot of people that come on this show, someone else usually sees the story, and a lot of times they piggyback and get on afterwards because, a lot of them are scared to say something at first, and then they see somebody like yourself do it. And then they're like, man, let me come tell my story now, and stuff like that too. And it's great though, because now you're in the network of people I know, and we're going to get you out there. We're going to let people, we're going to see how many other shows we can get you on and things like that too. See, Ricky says he's down for it too. So we'll definitely talk details, gentlemen. We'll get together and figure it out. We'll get it all handled for sure. But and things like that. And there's some other shows I'll reach out to, and we'll figure out from there where their schedulers are and things like that. Because I think it, you getting out there and telling people about your story, what the details you can tell, obviously, and things like that. It'll just be great. I think that just, these different people you're going to interact with, trust me, dude, you're going to have a fucking blast. Trust me. I would never recommend you for something I don't think that would be beneficial to you in any way possible, because Melissa, I know she's a licensed therapist, so she'll understand things on a higher level. But she does therapy like no other, man. Trust me. She's fucking hilarious. Like, she says some fucking crazy shit. There's a few episodes, man, like the first 5 minutes, it was just like, what are we talking about here? What the hell? And, and stuff like that too. And then, like I said, I got a couple other friends. We'll reach out, we'll connect you with them and see about getting you on there and things like that, man. Because I feel like if you're down to talk about it, might as well let you get out there and have a voice and, feel like, you can be heard by many people, not just here, and it's great like that, man. Like I said, we'll definitely figure out the panel thing, guys, for anybody that's listening or watching. We'll get all the details and stuff like that. And we got 2 open spots right now for anybody that might want to be a part of it. If you're watching this and you want to be a part of this thing, let me know, reach out. If not, we're definitely going to look at doing this every month, getting together, having more people kind of come into the conversation. We like I said, we can have up to 10. I haven't had 10 on here yet, so we'll start with 6 just to start with to see how it goes. Sure. And then go from there kind of thing. And then we'll just kind of play with the numbers and see which works best for us. And then we kind of go from there with it. So, but anyways, listen, man, I appreciate you coming. Like I said, bro, like I said, when you get the chance, you can start talking about everything. We'll talk differently because we may end up doing a closer session, just the 2 of us, have a one-on-one conversation, bear it all out. And then it'll be one of those private kind of conversations for only people that you want people to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something that I do want to happen at some point, just because there is so much of me that people don't understand or don't know about.
Yeah.
Even in my own world. The biggest thing that I tell people that they don't understand is it's like re-engineering a human being. Through my experience, I had to relearn how to regulate emotions, which I'm still learning how to do.
Yeah.
So you have these heightened emotions that also exaggerate these feelings or these conditions, or, however you're dealing with it. Now you have this parallel of emotions that are out of control sometimes.
What other things you have to relearn how to do, like walking and any of that kind of stuff too? Almost.
I didn't have to learn to rewalk. My balance was affected.
Yeah.
That was a big one. My depth perception, my sight, obviously, given the eye trauma.
Jeez.
A big one for me that I still struggle with a little bit is I spent a lot of time basically kind of learning how to reread.
Oh, okay.
I can read the words, but I would lose my place. A memory issue was tied to that. So trying to remember, it would get to a point where I would read a paragraph, start on the next one, and not remember any of the information that was in the first one.
Yeah.
I'll lose my place and just having a collaboration of words that didn't make sense. So that was a huge one for me, which, talking about relating it to anxiety, if you're at a restaurant and you're standing in line trying to order, you can't read what's on the board, but you've got a line of people behind you. Now you're adding that anxiety factor, right? And then after you're out of that situation and you're thinking about it, you feel like a failure. So now you have that depression side, right? So it's all exaggerated by the different emotions of what the physical conditions are.
Yeah, I bet.
And that was a majority of it.
A lot of people take those things for granted, being able to do all those kind of things and not realizing how hard it is for some people. Now you're going to see somebody struggling one time. You're going to come up to say, hey, man, I understand what you're doing with. You got this, and tell everybody else to shut the fuck up, basically.
Right.
It's people don't understand, man. When people don't understand, they make fun of, or they say crazy shit to them or assume things about people, and they take all those things for granted, man. But like, what if you had to learn how to reread like you did? It's like, holy fuck, dude. People don't think about that from that aspect, and I had a friend, he had injured his knee. He had broke his leg right at the knee, and he had to learn how to rewalk essentially. And it was crazy to watch him do it, because it's like, you don't understand the struggle he deals with every single day. He's like walking, but he's trying to move faster than he is, but he can't because his body won't let him move any quicker. And he's like, people take all those things for granted. Like, they don't realize, what if you had to relearn all that stuff, man? Just like, how many people would make it out of that? A lot make it out of that without going complete nuts and thinking that this is just crazy, or try to take their own life because they're just like, well, fuck it, I give up. I'm a failure. I can't do this, and start getting that mindset, of they just can't do it. And it's just a powerful story to hear, man, that you're going through all these things and you're not letting it stop you,
Yeah.
You're still pushing through it and all that kind of stuff. So are you working normally now, or are you just kind of like...
No, I'm actually still not back to work.
Okay.
And there is a possibility I may not be returning to that industry from lack of ability.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that even I haven't shared with people in my life because I don't know if I'm ready to share them, or things like that. But like kind of a backup on that reading thing. Something a lot of my friends may not even know is I was struggling with writing.
Yeah.
Because the left side of my body was affected. So my hand wouldn't necessarily work all the time. And I am a left-handed writer.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I just writing with a pen, I would drop a pen.
Yeah.
or if I had something in my hand, it would just drop.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife deals with some stuff like that too, man. So I understand that completely. She was having trouble with things, gripping things, and her knees would give out and stuff like that too. So I could definitely relate to you on that one. I understand because she had a lot of neck issues. She had the discs in her neck replaced, and because she had suffered a severe car accident real young. And before we had met, it's like a couple of years before we met, she was telling me about it. But I've been through some stuff, man. We could talk about here when we get off here in a second that I'm not going to share here. But I can tell you, I've been through some shit myself, dude, man. And I don't let it affect me, and I don't shame her for it at all. Things like that. Like, and I think
Hmm.
people need to understand that too. Is when you start struggling, they just need to stand back behind you and be like, "Hey, man, you got this." Because that means a lot to you, and it obviously does. I'm sure you can confirm that one too. Just trying to be there, it's hard for some people, man, and it's rough. But like I said, man, I appreciate you coming though and telling this story because holy fuck, dude, if that's only the details we get, holy shit, dude, I can't even imagine things you're not telling us though. But
Yeah. I will say, just as kind of a closer to what you were talking about, the
yeah,
level. I mean, I had compassion before. I
yeah.
would like to believe that I was very compassionate to other
You
people.
always seemed like a chill guy to me. Like that's what I think attracted me to you. You always gave off a real positive energy, but you're
I
real
appreciate
man.
that.
Well, but you're really, really monotone, but at the same time, you're like real relaxing. Like you weren't like giving off those vibes. Like you're always friendly, always real welcoming. Even people give you shit, and you just kind of just respond in very the same tone the whole time. You just want to let people affect you that you could see though. So it's really great, man. I'm glad that you're joining the conversation though. I think we
Yeah,
lost. There you are.
it has really taught another level of compassion.
Yeah.
It has helped with that. And I think it's funny that you say that, because I have been accused of having a calm personality and a like calming voice, I guess. I just think it's kind of funny that you pointed that out. I actually really enjoy that.
Yeah, like I said, man, that's the thing that attracted me when I came by because it was one day I'm just scrolling through and I saw it. I was like, I'm gonna hop in here and see what's up. And you were live with somebody else I followed. I don't remember who it was. Somebody else, one of your other friends, and she was giving you shit. I'm like, all right, let me go there and defend Casey a little bit. He needs a little help. So we're back there, and we were just hitting it off since then, man. And then, like I said,
Yeah.
you disappeared for a little bit, and I was like, all of a sudden, I recognized the name. I was like, dude, I know that guy. It's like, what's up, Brian? Seen you forever. And that's when you were telling me a little bit about it. And I was like, damn, dude. And then that's why I reached out. I'm like, well, fuck it. Let's see what he says. And I reach out tons of people. I pitched probably over 500 people now to be on this show. And I've gotten a lot of no's. So at this point, it really doesn't affect me. At first, it would have
Sure.
crushed me. But, I'm just so glad you came, man. I'm glad you get the chance to kind of be heard and things like that. And share that story is powerful, man, because it's hard. I'm sure it was hard telling people about that. People don't understand and half the things that go on in your head, and things like that too, dude. So,
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And I guess one of the I can't remember his name on TikTok, but like, I guess my closing statement would be that I heard a quote and I absolutely love it. It ain't weak to speak. And so I hope that this is a pathway to encouraging more people to do it.
facts.
Ricky and Tyler, the panel idea, I absolutely freaking love that, if I'm
I'm
honest.
down. I'm down. I'm down.
It,
Totally. I agree. I agree.
and yeah, I would love to continue on these conversations. You and we can connect and talk about some stuff.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. All right. Well,
Um,
we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up, brother. I appreciate so much for coming, guys.
right
Me and
on.
Casey are wrapping up here. We will get you the details about the panel when we know more. Casey will share about it in his socials. You want to plug your TikToks and then where to find you in case anybody wants to come by and visit you.
I am Casey on TikTok, or my @ is the Good Life 2025.
Okay.
And this is something that I do like to talk about. So this is something that if people want to reach out to me or talk about stuff, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, definitely, guys. And Casey will be back for sure because we're talking about those panels. We'll get all the details. I'll get Casey all the details. He'll share them there. I'll share them on mine. And you guys know where to find me. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety and everything. I'm down X all the way down to TikTok. I'm Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I'm pretty much everywhere your podcast can be. Like I'm like Visa, everywhere you want me to be. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do to save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety signing off saying, hey, don't ask how your day is. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?